Hello and welcome to One India show, and today JD Vance is in India. Of course, this is a big news because USA has a new government and the tariff war has devastated almost every country. India is part of that. Of course, we also are going on with 54% of tariff that US has put on us. But this tour of Vice President is much more than that. It is not just about tariffs. It is also about China, who have been asking India to stay together. This was for the first time, or maybe after years, that China said that India and China should come along together moments after Trump started the tariff war. Now JD Vance is here in India, and we have seen since morning that Vance and his family, they are going around at places. His children were seen in traditional attire. Of course, Usha Vance, who is the second lady of USA, and she has Indian origin. So there is a lot of excitement among Indians to know who is Usha Vance. The same we saw when JD Vance was selected as the second most important man of USA. Well, it is a complicated matter when we talk about South China Sea and what China can do, what USA wants there, and of course India's own benefits which are there in South China Sea because of different passages and the trade route that South China Sea has. Well, first let me introduce the guest that we have. We have Rabindranath Sachdev. He is foreign affairs expert and currently he is the president of the Image India Institute and co-founder and director. He is with us to tell us more about what will be JD Vance talking with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And when it comes to defense, then we have Major General SBS Thana. General Thana, thank you so much for joining us. And General Thana will be telling us more about what is happening in India and the world. And of course, we already know that it is almost like a World War III situation when most of the countries are fighting each other. Trump promised that he will bring peace days after joining the presidency, becoming the president, but that really didn't happen. So General Thana, let me begin with you. What do you think VP Vance is doing in India? Of course, the tariff war is one of the most important things which is in the news, which is trending, but let's not forget South China Sea, which is one of the biggest triggering points for war because China wants to control it. And Vietnam, Philippines, they have been actively going against it. So what are your views? Will there be any discussion about South China Sea, especially to tackle China?
See, there will be discussion on Indo-Pacific. Remember, we and United States, India and United States, have comprehensive strategic global partnership. Now, if you define this partnership, it involves as to how the global landscape and geopolitical landscape is shaping up.
Right.
We know that President Trump's administration is looking at China as one of the most important competitor, and the entire tariff war is also revolving around that. In addition, there are fair amount of activities which are happening in and around the Indo-Pacific region, and therefore that is certainly one of the core interests of India and US, which brings two countries together. In fact, many strategists in America have said that the biggest reason why India and US are together is the China's threat and the China's expansionism at various places, whether it is South China Sea or it is continental domain or it is land borders, etc., etc. Now, as far as the talks are concerned and as far as his discussions are concerned, I visualize that it will be on many subjects. Tariff would be one, and these are all engagements.
But will it be negotiations? It is going to be more about negotiations on tariffs, or yes, India will have a say. India can fight it back.
No, I think it will be more of the negotiations because we are already in the negotiations. That even before tariffs, we were already under negotiations for a fair trade agreement between the two countries, and apparently this will be one more step in that because neither he will be able to finalize it nor there will be a concrete agreement signed we don't expect an agreement being signed by JD Vance visit. But
Right.
certainly everything will move forward, whether it is in terms of defense cooperation, whether it is in terms of our technological upgradation in a manner that earlier we used to have ICET as a trade as an agreement for exchange of technology. Now it has
Right.
been developed into trust that is transforming relationship utilizing strategic technologies. Now, so this is a new development which has happened. So basically, we are engaging and we are expanding the kind of understandings we have. As far as South China Sea is concerned, the question which you specifically asked, that becomes important because China is threatening Taiwan, which is nearby near South China Sea. South
Right.
China Sea is a very important trade route. It is also very rich in resources, and China has been bullying a number of countries, whether it is Philippines or Vietnam or others. But
Right.
now, once the trade war started, China has changed its stance. Xi Jinping is going around all these countries and telling them that we as Asia are one family and we should remain together. So now that so if he's trying to keep the flock together
Yeah.
on in the context of one Asia and he is making similar advances towards India, obviously US will also be concerned and would like to make similar advances towards India in that context as well. So I think this would be a wholesome visit, depending, and discussions will perhaps move around in geopolitics, technology, defense, and tariffs certainly, and trade war and trade, shall I say, negotiations as well. Back to
Mr.
you.
Sachdeva, I would like to bring you in. What are your thoughts? How India will be reacting? Of course, more important than that, that how VP Vance will be reacting. Because Trump has taken such a stance that he looks so aggressive. He's literally bringing the world leaders at Oval Office and doing whatever he wants to do and saying whatever he wants to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, very interesting times we live in. One. Secondly, regarding the JD Vance visit, you see, it's a kind of a working kind of a visit. The and the reason for that is that there was no reason for this visit to happen.
Right.
Okay, apparently it's a wedding to which Usha Vance or JD amongst their friends, family, or someone which is happening in Jaipur. They were planning to go there, and it was meant to be a private visit, or they were suggesting a private, but whatsoever, it ended up being an official visit,
Right.
right? So it's a visit coming, yes, while at the height of discussions and negotiations and permutations, combinations in India about the tariff things. I'll come to that. So it happened per chance timing. That's what I look at it, right? And then
Right.
they're off to, Jaipur and Agra sightseeing, etc. So in that sense, it's a working visit, but great, timely, I would say, because it will help our leaderships. I mean, our leadership and JD, American, to have not negotiations, I would think, but soft negotiations or more sensitization of each other's concerns, etc. Right. So
Yeah,
that's the
because
way
he's the
I look.
second most important person, despite him coming for the wedding. He's meeting the prime minister. He
Sure,
is meeting MEA people. He is also meeting our foreign minister. So there's, of course, a lot of expectation when it
it
comes to the
is.
ongoing war. And also one thing that I should, of course, mention that Trump has kept saying that he will attack Iran. And at this moment, India will have to take a side. India will have to choose a side because things are changing very rapidly when we talk about wars. And one strike on Iran can completely change the entire situation. So I'll just want both of yours views from Mr. Sachdeva, of course, and then from General Sthana.
No, certainly, I mean, everything is happening in the cocoon or in the envelope of the global geopolitics.
Right.
And what I say is that I sense it's not a new world order we are seeing. What we are seeing witness to is a new world matrix which is under construction. Right now, all countries
But the
are
world
making
order has
their.
changed in the sense that Trump is quite friendly with Putin. And even in the war, Trump has been saying that it was Zelensky's fault that the entire war happened.
No, agreed, it has changed. But what I'm saying is it's not static now. It's in a flux.
Yeah.
Okay, things are in a flux, partnerships being made, and friendships, etc., being made, and all. So the meeting with JD Vance will definitely, and as General Asthana was mentioning, trust actually on the bilateral side, that will get a huge thrust. That is a collaboration on strategic technologies like AI, supply chain, semiconductors, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. So that will look to accelerate that portion of the relationship. One quick point I would like to say regarding trade and tariffs: we are focusing only on percentages, like that India has 26% or whatever. The
Yeah.
tariff percentages do not matter much. Equally important for the USA is the non-tariff barriers. Vietnam said, okay, we'll come down from 40% to 0%. You also make it zero. So
Right.
Peter Navarro, Trump's advisor, said, no, non-tariff. Now, that means India will have to make reforms. Okay, and some of those reforms are actually going to be beneficial for us also in the long term for our industry. So it's a moment like the foreign exchange crisis due to Manmohan Singh Narasimha Rao times. It's a similar kind of, if not a crisis situation, opportunity when we have to reform our domestic industry
Can
also
you
to make it
explain a bit
competitive.
more? Trump has been saying that once these tariffs are successful, he will remove taxes from USA. So how will that happen? And if it is true, then why not India should also go ahead with this? Because we as Indians, we know how much taxes we are paying on every product that we buy. So is it really possible that Trump can remove taxes or cut down taxes on American public with the help of these new exaggerated tariffs? I must say, if it is 245% with China.
See, in theory, exactly what Trump and his advisors are calculating is that these tariffs that they're imposing will bring them around $700 billion every year into the US
But
Treasury.
is that really
And
true?
no, they're numbers. We don't know. Let's see. And over 10 years, this number would be 7 trillion. Now,
Yeah.
what they're therefore thinking is that from this 7 trillion, of course, not zero tax, but they will lower the taxes. They're looking at
Right.
that 7 trillion, to because lowering taxes is a political agenda of Trump and his base. They want lower taxes. So it's like but on the other hand, you see this money that they're collecting is from American businessmen itself, American importers. So it's like you're robbing your own people, collecting this money
Yeah.
from them over 10 years, and on the other hand you're doing a favor. So that's a very smart political thing. You see, you're making your base feel thankful to you that you're giving them lower taxes, while they're not realizing that the money which is going into the US Treasury is coming from American pockets, though Trump is saying this is coming from foreign exporters. No, it will be paid by the American importers. So it's a question of this $7 trillion in an overall sense, that how should that be allocated. Trump is planning to give a big tax break in the next year, okay,
Yeah.
about $2 to $3 trillion. So that will be allocated there,
Okay. And
theoretically.
yeah, Jalasthana, tell us more about what side India should pick if Trump is saying that his statements are supporting Putin in a way most of the times since he has become the president. So India, of course, has been always closer to Russia. So does it make India's path easy if Trump and Putin share good relations and Trump keeps saying that he wants to meet Putin as soon as possible?
It certainly makes India's position easy. And it is in the interest of India if Trump adopts the kind of approach which he has. Uh, Frankly speaking, he is not saying anything new. It's a
Right.
well known stated fact that NATO's expansion eastward is one of the major triggers for this war. And similarly, Zelensky's over enthusiasm to join NATO and certain actions towards that, and in collaboration with Joe Biden, when he signed a decree that I will take back Crimea, and
Yeah.
also joint exercises and a little bit of shall I say capacity building there in happening in Ukraine with American help. Now these were the triggers for the war. So what Trump is saying is exactly what is true, which everybody knows. The problem is that the Europe is has not been acknowledging, and the US-led NATO followed a narrative for 3 years, which is
Yeah.
contrary to this. So that is why when Trump says what he says, it looks as if he is favoring Putin. But if you see a large number of strategists from America, whether it is Mercimer or whether a whole lot of others, they
Yeah.
all have been saying exactly the same thing, which we all have been saying as Indians as well. that one side provoked and second side took a preemptive action. That is what Ukraine war. That's how the Ukraine war started.
Right.
West has provoked Russia, and Russia has taken a preemptive action instead of waiting.
Can we call it a fad? I mean, the war, the reason for which the war started, that Ukraine will be part of NATO, which Ukraine knew that they couldn't be. So it was all fad for which the war started. Of course, they were fighting since 2014. But what happened in 2022? It was because Putin said that if Zelensky becomes or Ukraine becomes member of NATO, it's going to be a problem. And they knew that Ukraine cannot be part of NATO. So was it a fad, and then the war started, and now lakhs of people are dead?
The problem is what you're saying is right, but let's put it this way. Let me put the statistics correctly. Ukraine cannot become part of NATO till the time it is involved in external or internal conflict.
Right.
It was involved in conflict in Donbass, so there was no case that it can become part of NATO. That is NATO's condition. So therefore, it was known that it cannot become part of NATO. But they were moving towards the Joe Biden administration continued to play the Cold War 1.0, and their intention was to weaken Russia. Right. And that was the intention of the other European countries too. So therefore, they continued to say that, okay, ultimately Ukraine will join NATO, or words to that effect, and giving a hope to Ukraine to join NATO. But the trigger when this special military operation took place was that in February this operation started, but in 2021, Zelensky signed a decree to say that we will take back Crimea. Now that is part of their proceedings, and thereafter there was a joint exercise in Black Sea with US troops and Ukrainian troops. Now that was a situation where Russia thought that either I sit back and let things happen and then react, or I take a preemptive action. And knowing Putin, obviously he took a proactive action. He's a proactive person. So he took a preemptive action and said enough is enough. So this is how it started. So when President Trump is analyzing this, he's saying the right thing. But the issue is that the interests of European countries are that, okay, we shouldn't get the body bags to our country. Our country should not be into war. But if we can help Ukrainians fighting, and if Zelensky is very keen, so therefore they don't mind fighting till last Ukrainian standing, although they don't want to accept their own body bags. And Zelensky, whatever reasons for remaining in power, or for whatever reasons, is actually playing to their tune. So earlier he was playing to
Zelensky. It seems it is over for Zelensky. USA, Trump himself will replace him with some other leader who is under his control.
That's what he feels. Zelensky doesn't feel so. Zelensky doesn't feel that it is over for him. That's the unfortunate part.
Mr. Sachdeva, your diplomatic views on that? We want to understand the diplomatic views.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I have been to both the countries. Zelensky still feels that he's still a hero and he's a fighter, and the whole world is.
But more than hero, we think of him as a comedian and the videos which went viral.
I know that. I agree with you. But so see, the fact is, he has, in fact, he has spoiled the entire country's economy, country's resources. He used to say that I am fighting for democracy and sovereignty. Now, where is the sovereignty? Your sovereignty is hostage to USA. Now you are going to give your minerals also to USA. Your democracy doesn't exist because you started off with a martial law, and it is still a martial law. So neither he is fighting for democracy nor he is fighting for sovereignty. He is only fighting for his chair. That's it. And so many people have told him. But the problem is that there is a lobby in Europe.
Yeah.
And there was a lobby in USA who wanted him to continue because the arms were selling, the energy was doing well, and Americans' interest was that the over dependence of Europe on Russian energy should be strapped. It has been strapped. Now that was the aim. USA was very keen to fight this war.
Also, what surprises me that the way or the diplomatic language has changed, or is it has been always like this? I want to ask Mr. Sachdeva especially that How about the language, the kind of language that we hear at Oval
Yeah.
Office, the diplomatic languages, the way the world leaders used to react, has that changed completely, or is it just Trump era?
No, no, no. It has been
Probably.
changing even before Trump era. Earlier it was Putin must lose.
Uh-huh.
Thereafter it changed. Putin should not win because they realized that on ground it is not happening. Putin must lose is not happening.
Yeah.
Second, then they were thinking there should be something happening in Russia to replace Putin. That doesn't happen. Then they came down to Mother Earth to say Putin should not win. And now it is that Ukrainians' territorial integrity should be preserved. So they are. So this is how the timelines have changed, and their stances have also changed. And when Trump came, he was saying that nothing. We have given enough as far as we are concerned. We can't fund somebody else's war. If our interest lies in Indo-Pacific, then why are we wasting money in Ukraine?
Right.
And more so when they are not in a position to pay back. And a lot of it was given as grant. The Europeans were smart; they have given everything as loan. Although he may not have a capacity to pay back, so obviously everybody knew that their
Yeah.
grain fields of Ukraine they will wage, they will be either sold off or given on lease. These are the things which the Western countries as well as the Americans were eyeing for. And
Okay.
at the end of the day, he is going to compromise a lot. In fact, it would have been better in the hindsight had he just accepted that okay, I will be neutral, and that was the end of it.
Mr. Asthana, what do you think about this? Do you agree with the general, or what do you think? What is really happening? How situation has changed? How diplomacy has changed in Trump's era?
Question to me, please.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. See, yes, General Asthana pointed out the policy shifts and all, right, in Trump, or the gaps therein. I'll address perhaps the communication style, what you were looking at, informal, the kind of language being used, etc.
Yeah.
Now, a big part of it is obviously the Trump persona, and a big part of this is Trump's growing up and working in the hustle bustle, fast paced world of New York. Real estate deals, dealing with mafia for cement supplies for his large construction projects. In the 70s and 80s, New York's cement supply was controlled by one mafia, something by labor union, by other mafia. So dealing with them, being a property developer, he had to deal with all of them. So Trump is used to that.
Right.
Bluffing, flamboyance, outbidding the deal, putting up false deadlines, like we are seeing it happening now. They said last week,
What's happening
just
with
one
China?
more
Every
week,
morning we are.
within this one, yeah, within this 1 week, Ukraine, Russia should settle, or else we move on. So
Yeah.
creating false deadlines and pressures of deadlines. So these are all, many of them, what he's doing, classic New York style negotiating techniques, or operating, not negotiating. One.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a part of it. There are many other parts to his. In my book, I have a complete chapter on the language that he uses, his
Right.
rhetoric and all. So that said, yes, it has very much made the discourse much more coarser, even, right? It has made the discourse more coarser. It has, I think, lowered the statesman-like thinking of nations, and everything is now becoming about deals and counter deals, right? And negotiations.
So he's a
The
hard-headed
element of no,
negotiator.
just
It will be tough.
no. Let me just complete. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, fine. No, everybody has to look out for themselves. This is what the new world matrix is, and it's a blunt world. Okay, and power is might. And America, in a way, I also think that maybe it's the last gasp of a final empire. Either they will blast through and always be a number one empire in the world, because that's what they're trying to prevent China from becoming, or
Right.
America will have a train wreck, and it's something like that going forward the next 3-4 years. But obviously, Trump and his team think that things have to be radically restructured because of this. They think if we keep going the same way, we are heading to be a certain society, a very very dark
Yeah.
views they have of the future of their world. But in this all, what is missing is now in the discourse which is happening, I think we are seeing a total absence of any sense of compassion, any sense of kindness, any sense of coexistence to live and let live together. Okay, we are seeing a complete absence of those talks, even, because everything is framed in win and lose. You win, I lose. It's become like that, and that is something extremely even more, I think, worrying. But those are the times we are living in.
This is the new reality that we have to face. Well, it brings me to two important questions, and I'll go back to General Asthana as well. General Asthana, of course, it is a tariff war, but we are also seeing almost a World War III like situation. But if it happens, we see two leaders as for the world. One is USA, of course, another one is China. Who do you see leading in this war when it comes to territorial war, the real war? And of course, then we'll ask the diplomat, of course, we'll ask Mr. Sachdeva that who will be leading the tariff war. Because, of course, there are multiple things to say. Trump keeps saying tariff, and 245%, he reached from 50%. But we want to really understand the real impact. And if it all happens, of course, China has a market in ASEAN, and they can go back to India as well to sell their products that they are making for USA. So there are multiple options. So in those terms, we would like to understand. Let's begin with General Sthana. Tell us, if this war happens, and if this war in Middle East goes next level, because USA is already striking Houthis in Yemen again and again. They have killed over 100 people within 1 week. Iran is saying that we are not afraid. We can attack, Israeli bases. We can attack US biggest base near Yemen anytime, any moment. So how do you see this war going? Are we really leading to World War III, or we should just accept that we are already in World War III?
See, there are two things. One is the kinetic war, which you just mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Please go ahead.
as of now, in the kinetic war, there are regional wars. One is happening in Russia, Ukraine, that is happening in Europe. One is
Right.
happening in Middle East. Now, these are regional wars. As far as the tariff war is concerned, now that has global implications. So that impacts everyone. The instrument of wars have changed. Economic war is an instrument of war. Same is the case of information war, social war, technological war. Now, all these are various facets of war, and
Right.
kinetic war is only one segment of the war. So, there is, in non-kinetic domain, it is a world war. We are already in a World War III,
Right.
or we are already in a world war. We will not name 1, 2, or 3, but certainly we can call it as Cold War 2.0 and a mix of Cold War 1.0 and 2.0. That's the
Right.
state in which we are as far as the non-kinetic war is concerned. As far as the kinetic war is concerned, it is still at regional level in a manner that there is a dynamics which is happening. And as far as Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, I think we have spoken enough.
Right.
As far as the Middle East is concerned, my sense is, as an analyst, USA will not attack Iran. They will
But they have said
certainly
that Israel will be leading the attacks, and they are sending bombs. They are already sending bombs.
they will have to control Israel, and they will continue to control Israel, because Israel by itself does not have the capability to finish off the nuclear infrastructure of Iran.
Right.
They need the bombers, and the kind of ammunition which is required is only with USA. It is not there with Israel. Number one. Number two factor is that as far as you see the capabilities wise, if you have to finish off an organization,
Right.
USA has been pounding Houthis for so many days now.
Yeah.
So many people have been killed.
Yeah.
But have the Houthis finished? The answer is no. They cannot be finished till the time you actually have a ground assault. Is USA ready to get into a new war after having suffered for 20 years in Afghanistan? My answer is no. So
But
they are
Trump
not
can
in a
do it.
position.
Trump has said that he will obliterate, devastate everything that Houthis have.
That is
So he
his
might.
language. He was saying all hell will break on
Yeah.
Hamas.
Yeah.
Hell is broken, but Hamas has become from 30,000 to they have now their figure is now 40,000 cadre. So that is as far as Hamas is concerned. Similarly, Houthis have not obliterated. Even
Yeah.
today, the shipping of Israel connected shipping is still in danger. They cannot cross Red Sea
Yeah.
because Houthis will attack them. So basically, at the end of the day, what you say and what you actually are able to capable of doing. See, no terrorist organization, no country can be obliterated unless you launch a ground assault. Just
Right.
by aerial campaign, nobody is going to, shall I say, raise his hands. Houthis are not going to raise his. Hamas has not raised their hand. Nobody raised their hand by
Yeah.
only by air assault.
Yeah.
So by air assault alone, you can't do anything. So there is a problem there. And in my opinion, USA will not like to get involved in Middle East once again after getting involved earlier. In fact, they are trying to now pull back certain troops from Syria and to be employed elsewhere because their own, shall I say, reserves are down, their own manpower is down,
Yeah.
their own expenses have increased because at the end of the day, they are themselves now asking within, even Trump is asking himself as to with $900 billion which we are spending, which is
Right.
more than the next six countries put together, what are we achieving? Virtually nothing. And China is growing. They are not spending money. They are not fighting with anybody, and they are growing leaps and bounds. So
Right.
therefore, there is a cost to pay if you get into a war, and that cost is disastrous. So therefore, MAGA dream will be out of the window if he gets into a war with Iran. So in
Right.
my opinion, maximum pressure will be put, and I think Iranian will be convinced that you don't make a bomb, and that somehow, directly, indirectly, whichever way, some kind of deal will be stuck. And even if
Right.
it is not, then it will linger on like that. That's what is
We
my
really, we really
opinion.
hope there is no direct war between Israel and Iran. Now, Mr. Sachdeva, take us through this new era, and of course, who is winning this race of tariff war amid the world war which is going on.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, yeah, I mean, I see, I feel, I say that there is a world war already. We are in the middle of a world war, as General Hassan was saying. He explained it very nicely that kinetic and the non-kinetic, in the non-kinetic sphere,
Yeah.
financial sanctions, Russia's $300 billion money corralled away in EU blocked. If this is not
Yes.
war, then what is war, right? But the way General Asthana described is a very nice way to look at it. So, in my sense, there is a world war already, without doubt. I mean, on tariffs, the thing that we are seeing is that, see, bottom line, America has already increased its tariffs by 4 times. America's average import duty, because that's what tariffs are, average
Yeah.
weighted trade import duties were 2.5% before this war started.
Yeah.
Okay. India's are about 12.5%, our average of all. A European Union is about 8.5%. So America was right that, we put a lower import tax, like 2.5% average, and you guys put 10%. So you
Yeah.
lower so that I can export more to you. Now, by making 10% the baseline, countries are pretty happy. Oh, I got 10%. But 10% is 4 times of the 2.5% which was there previously. So
Yeah.
that is one. Uh, and secondly, you see, again, back to the point of tariffs, uh, they will persist with tariffs. The point is, again, it's about raising money for the US government. Trump has created a new department known as Department of External Revenue Services.
Yeah.
In the US, there used to be, and there is the IRS, the Income Tax Department of America, the Internal Revenue Service. Now they're setting up a Department of External Revenue Services, right?
Yeah.
To manage and raise and collect these tariffs. So the idea is that with these tariffs, money which is come in exactly to be able to lower the overall taxes in the country. That is one. Also, to give subsidies to targeted industries which are especially suffering. Let's say automotive industry starts suffering. Then
Yeah.
what Trump does? From this bucket of tariff money collected, he puts $100 billion, okay, for the automotive industry, some rebates, etc. Inflation is rising. There also they plan to use this tariff money. That supposing the price of a car has gone up in America now. So if I go to buy a car, the interest rate on the loan that I take, that
Yeah.
interest rate will be lowered by a certain percentage point. So I'll feel
Okay.
that, okay, I'm getting a tax break. So these are multiple things. Just on tariffs, just a moment. And inflation, America looks and Trump looks. They want to keep the price of oil down.
Right.
In their estimates or calculations, the inflation, about one fourth the cost is of transportation. of goods, multiple goods, everything, it has to be ferried across. So if they are able to keep the price of crude oil lower, then they will be able to manage some of the inflation impact of the tariffs on the domestic American economy. Now,
Right.
that said, yes, the world is moving towards a new, it'd be very much a new regime, and there'll be a different. See, Trump does not want to deal with multilaterals. The same is happening with Europe. He's not talking to European Union.
Right.
He is talking to specific country by country, is what his preference is.
Especially
And
with the
that,
right wingers. I mean, Meloni gets all the respect, but not the same for others.
oh yeah, certainly. I mean that is something. And by the way, that is something we also got to watch out. Let's say, I mean, the leadership of Trump and Vance and all, they're very much nationalist, and they want to propagate their thinking worldwide.
Yeah.
Right? He was in Germany, where he met up with AfD, which is so-called a fringe party of the right in Germany.
Yeah.
So the world can expect, I think, in times to come, that the American leaders will connect more and more with the right and the far right organizations in the countries of the world, and that will have impact on domestic situations of countries, including India.
Right.
We do not want any foreign interference in our, these are foreign interferences, I would say. That's something we'll have to watch out, or everyone will have to watch out, uh,
Right.
which is happening. So several more things, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we had Ravindranath Sachdeva telling us more about how these tariffs will play out. And of course, we are in World War III. Of course, we don't say this because we don't want to be the warmongers, but this is also the fact that half of the world is at war, and we in India just hope that the Iran and US nuclear talks be successful. JD Vance is here in India, and I would just like to thank you, Major General Sthana, also Ravindra Sachdeva. Thank you, sir, for joining us and giving us all the updates. And for our viewers, we have our reporter on the ground since morning, and she has been talking to people who are there near JD Vance's tour. He has been going to different places, of course, to temples as well, and then he'll be going to attend a wedding in Jaipur. But today he'll be also meeting our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So we do have Arushi. She's connected with us. And Arushi, I want to understand what is really happening. What all did you see today? And what can we expect from the meeting on the tariff war that Trump has already started? And China wanted to be with India and fight this tariff war together. But since JD Vance is here, his Indian origin wife Usha Vance is here, and they have been traveling to temples with kids, and the meeting is ahead. Tell us, what do you expect?
Yes. Yes, you are right. Nobody's unaware that the world is at a trade war right after Donald Trump announced tariff on different countries. On India, he has imposed 26% on Indian goods, though while imposing this tariff, he did mention that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a good friend of mine. And JD Vance's visit to India amid this whole trade war holds a lot of significance. This visit comes right after his visit to Italy, where he met Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who is one of the biggest leaders of Europe and also a good ally of US as well as India. Now, JD Vance is gonna hold discussions tonight at local landmark with the Indian delegation and the Indian Prime Minister. As per reports, the representation on Indian side are External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Ajit Doval, and Indian representative to the United States. From the United States side, there are gonna be people from Pentagon and State Department representation could also be seen. The main point of discussion is gonna be trade war, of course, trade tariffs. And let me remind you that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and JD Vance held a bilateral discussion in Paris this year in February, where they discussed a bilateral pact related to trade and tariff. I think tonight they are gonna either finish that discussion, or they will make improvements in that. So we can expect big announcements after this discussion. Secondly, JD Vance's wife Usha Vance has Indian heritage, so I think this visit is also culturally and emotionally very close to the Vance family. So I think these things hold a lot of significance in JD Vance's India visit.
Understand that on Twitter and on social media, it is Usha Vance who is trending more than JD Vance. Of course, the Indian connect is there. Tell us more. Why is it happening? And all the visit that Usha had in the temples with the kids.
Yes, definitely. Usha Chilikuri Vance is more trending in India than US Vice President JD Vance himself. Even the kids are trending because of their beautiful Indian attires in which they landed at the Palam Air Base this morning. Now, why Usha is trending, we are well aware of this fact because she is the first Indian American second lady of the United States. Her roots belong from the southern part of India, from Andhra Pradesh. When JD Vance won the election along with Trump, then there was a celebration in her hometown, in her home village. Pujas were held, candles were lit, and people were celebrating. But one thing which is to be noticed is that in JD Vance's visit, there is no mention of Andhra Pradesh. They are not visiting there. Even Usha Vance is not visiting there. But they are trying to introduce their kids to the maternal side of their family through their culture and heritage. The first place where they visited right after landing was Akshardham temple, and they took blessings for the family and for their country there. On the airport, we saw that when cultural performances were happening, when dancers and singers were welcoming JD Vance and the Vance family, then JD Vance was whispering in one of his son's ear. He was teaching his son about the Indian culture and the Indian classical dance form. So yes, the Indian American touch to JD Vance's family is making Usha Vance trend more than JD Vance himself.
That is amazing. I mean, of course, we would love to see the Indian origin family in the Indian attire, and that is, of course, leaving a big message for Indians as well. And people have been appreciating what the kids were wearing and showing their India's connect. But more than that, people, we want to tell you that this meeting of JD Vance with Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be of high importance. Of course, he is here in India for personal reasons as well. He is here to attend a wedding in Jaipur in this heat. I don't know how he's going to, manage the heat. However, the best we can tell you that this visit is going to bring a lot of news about India, China and USA. Of course, the tariffs are going to be part of it, but overall we just hope that USA relaxes in Middle East, Israel and Iran, they relax in Middle East and there is no war. But at the moment, Houthis have increased their violence in the Red Sea. They are attacking Eilat as well in Israel because they know that USA is not going to stop. US CENTCOM has already said that they will be attacking 24/7 on Yemen, and they have already killed more than 100. JD Vance is in India. We'll give you more updates. Once the meeting happens, we'll be coming live again and tell you more what was discussed in the meeting with Prime Minister Modi and what changes are we going to see in the tariff war that is ruining the entire world economy, and maybe we are going to see recession very soon. This is Nagen Singh for One India.